Hey folks, this is Lucid, and we are back with the Pretender design, which should be pretty quick. Quick overview of the nation. Late Age Man is a nation that focuses on heavy artillery, basically. We are designed to trade archer fire with all sorts of different foes. We've got crossbows, we got longbows, we got short bows, got heavy armor, we got light armor. We got a lot of different archery options. We also have some decent heavy cav, and we also have some hard-hitting cap-only sacreds. Our mage is the Magister Arcane, which is just a god of air and earth magic, and is okay with astral. So really good communions, a little vulnerable to magic duel. But yeah, it's a super solid nation in the early and mid game, and has really good troops. But it's kind of doubled down. It's tripled down on archer fire. I mean, it has some other things it can do. It has some okay line units, that don't have crossbows or anything. And some of its archers even are no slouches in melee. But that's kind of its thing. And we're going to have to kind of figure out what we want our god to do. What is the role of our god? Well, there's a few things we might want our god to do. One is that the nation, if you play pure scales, which in many ways this is a nation that wants to play pure scales, if you do play pure scales, it's a little slow out of the gate, right? And especially if you're not very good at finessing expansion with scales units, you can kind of take a bit of a dive, and it's really a nation that would love to have a Pretender help clear out the cap circle. I mean, it would absolutely love that. So this is a nation I think taking an expander is a decent option for, especially if you're in like a low player count game like I'm in. I almost never take expanders on nations. I normally try to figure out how to do it with scales or like with the bless. But this is a nation where I thought really hard about it, and in some ways I think it's the better play, but I'm not going to. I think one of the better expanders for this nation is the pig. You can do a bunch of things. You could do like fire shock resistance, and then you have that on your sacreds. I prefer to have my sacreds more killy and go with the strength. And this is going to help with the crossbows a little bit and with the two-handed weapons a lot. The other thing is they kind of want poison resistance. Now, this is not going to protect all of your scales units, only your sacreds. But having something with poison resistance means you can potentially not get completely bamboozled by your by your foul vapor casting enemies until you can get nature into your communion. Once you have nature in your communion and enchantment of 5, or ideally enchantment 7, foul vapor's threats start evaporating. But pretty early in the in the early mid game, it's a major threat. You can see we still have pretty good scales with this. We get a free scale. With man, you also get a free dump. You can always dump drain. We kind of are going to want... Dog wants to go up. We would like to have higher dominion than this. You're not really going to be able to afford it. So you're going to be kind of limited on the number of sacreds you can recruit with this build. You're probably going to want 3 of these. You're also kind of a fire nation, so you could go fire 3. This also is going to reduce the threat of murdering winter. You kind of are going to want to grow 3. And with this build, to pay for it, you can go like this and get a bit of order. You could even go Dominion 5 and get 1 more. I'm not really sure ideal. Like, this would be better if you're not really going to make that many wardens, and your wardens are really just kind of like hard-hitting special forces. There's problems, though, like we have no magic weapons on this nation, so I think you kind of do want magic weapons on your wardens if you can afford it. We're also not making many wardens, but this is going to be very fast out of the gate. Because, like I said, man is a nation with very good troops. You're going to be a little slow getting them because you have to clear your cap circle, but man, once you clear your cap circle with scales like this, you're going to have just really good troop production. If the only thing that was important was your first timing, like good timings for your first war, this is probably the build I would go. It's going to be dependent a little bit on who you're fighting, but this is a pretty good build. If you're playing Late Age Man and you don't feel very confident, this is a pretty solid build for you to take. There's other options. I think I really do like the strength and the poison resistance combo on Wardens. You can also get that with the Great Mother, and she's going to be basically a Titan. She's more expensive, but, you know, is going to be way better in the mid game for, like, potentially clearing armies. It's going to add another major threat vector. So the Great Mother's an option. There's also other memey things you can do, like potentially, this is one thing I tried, you get the Raven, and this, some people are going to say, like, it's completely unviable. It's not unviable. It's a little too memey. If I were playing in a game with just, like, friends or something, I would probably try it just to do the meme. But I want to not embarrass myself in the tournament. But you can do something like this. Death Weapons is pretty good if you do both war memes, and it's not great on Wardens because Wardens already hit really hard, but it's good on Wardens for the crossbows. But this is, you know, you're spending a fair amount, but you're also getting really high death. And you're a nation that can sight search death, but you can't really cast death. Like, you don't have very high death. So this would be pretty darn helpful for the nation. Just having the good death access. And then, you know, this is a pretty solid weapon bless. You can kind of do decay weapons too if you want a budget-friendly version. And you're also going to get the bird. And Big Bird, I think if you take the bird, you need to go awake. Dormant, kind of, but Dormant really only if you're like a blood power. Because then they can just sit there. Awake is going to be important because he can basically follow around and help your expansion parties. You can kind of go solo with the bird. There are some scripts and ways to do it where you can solo take out provinces, but you're going to have a reasonably high failure rate. An unacceptably high failure rate. Let me put it that way, in my opinion. So the right way for him to roll is with your army, and you want him to do supporting jobs like, you know, wait till it's safe and then jump in and try to pick off some people, or, you know, wait till people are engaged and then hit the back line. But even then, sometimes he'll die, but at, I would say, an acceptably low rate. You can still have pretty good scales with this. You basically can have like a little bit more dominion and do the same thing we had with the pig. The difference, though, is this guy is going to be very strong in the mid game. You know, you can do Raven things in the mid game, whereas the pig's going to be probably running around site searching, forging, or casting spells. You don't really want the pig. I mean, the pig would get killed, especially as a solo operator. He can run in with your army, but this Raven, once it gets powered up, would be really strong. You'd probably empower it in some stuff too once you got the gems. But anyway, this isn't like a meme option. It's not something I would say is super strong. If you watch Sakine's video, he played Man in last year's tournament, and he won his first game with Late Age Man. So they have interesting things they can do. He took like kind of a more rainbow blast. I think it had precision and decay weapons and some other stuff. Like far shots, so he could shoot really far, like take out backline mages. He had a pretty cool build. I would say something like that is still viable. You know, you could do thunder weapons too if you wanted to. You could also take like the snake, and you could just get, you know, like strength on the snake. And the snake, you could like blind expand. The pig, you can blind expand, but you have to be a little careful. The snake really gives, you know, zero fucks about most things. So, you know, you could take the snake and basically do pretty similar scales here as the pig. But the pig is going to have this much earth and a lot of nature. One of the things I didn't mention in the national overview is Man, for their sites, their national site, they get 2 air and 2 nature. You have no nature mages, which this is one of the few nations in the game where you get gems from your capital that you can't spend. So there is an incentive to have like a good nature mage. So for that reason, I would probably kind of rule the snake out, but the snake is an option. You can probably find other pretenders here and make them work. You know, the dragons could work if you came up with something you liked. The option I think we're going to go with is the Monolith. And the way we're going to build the Monolith is going to be like so. I want to have magic weapons. And I want to be able to cast Mother Oak too. I want to have the option to cast it. And we don't have any hand slots or anything. And we don't want to have to get Construction 6 or whatever for Moonvine bracelets. We can go minor poison resistance, which would be a little bit better for Foul Vapors. But I think we're just going to do something like this. Ideally, we would want a little higher Astral, because 4 is not enough to break us into high Astral. We really need 5, because with 5, we can do, you know, a stone coin or whatever. and then we can do a ring of sorcery, which would be pretty nice. I still don't think we can do the Ring of the Magi because we only have one inventory spot. But anyway, that would be pretty good just to get the sorcery bump. So there's that. When we could pick up some nice MR or something here. And then we're still going to stick with the strength. Now, the nice thing about this is with these magic weapons, our wardens are going to be able to do a lot of things for us. They're going to kill elementals okay. You know, they, like fire elementals are still going to struggle with a bit because, you know, they don't have fire resistance. Their crossbows are going to be magic weapons too, which means they're going to do a better job at hitting the tile, like getting past a shield kind of. They're going to ignore the ethereal stuff in Mistform and Fog Warriors, right? And we have a couple of air nations in the game, and we definitely have some elf thugs. So being able to ignore Mistform would be really good, especially on a ranged attack. Veti also is able to do astral point buffing, and having magic weapons here, I think, is potentially. I'm pretty worried about Vetiheim, and I'm pretty worried about Midgard. And, you know, there's other nations that can also do, like magic weapons. I mean, stuff that magic weapons is going to help with in terms of thugging. You know, we've got Gath that can do some of those things. We've got, and we've probably got some other things too. So I feel like magic weapons is really good to have an option, because otherwise we're just magic weaponless. And it's the reason I don't really want to take an expander, because like, I honestly would have a way better early game if I took the expander, but I want this enough that, yeah. If we do this and we go in prison, we're going to have way better skills. We've got a lot of design points to spend. One thing we can do is we can jack up our Dominion pretty high, either to 8 or 9. The other thing we can do is we're going to keep our drain, but we can go luck now if we want to. And that's going to basically spend all of our points. This is one build. Right, so, you know, note to self, this is one build. Right, we have really good magic pass. We're going to have high earth. That means we can control earth globals if we want to. We can control nature globals, and we can even have a shot at pretty high astral. Is this the only build? No, this is the build I think I currently have loaded in. The game hasn't started yet. There's another build I'm considering, which is going to also add Blood Surge. Blood Surge is going to cost us 100 design points, or 110, because we had 10 left over. And we can pay for it in a variety of ways. One was we can do a bit less Dominion, which kind of sucks. We can do one less of these, and we can potentially drop one of these. Or I think we want some balance kind of like this. And now we've paid for it. So slightly worse scales. Like if you look at our income, does it say it here? Yeah, we're completely neutral for income. What Blood Surge is going to do is a fewfold, though. It's going to allow our wardens to expand better. So in this sense, it is less greedy. Because it's going to shore up our early game. It's also going to allow, we get a national hero that's a vampire with worthy heroes that can help break us into blood. And this can help, you know, especially if like the game goes late, do some other cool stuff with blood, like we can send horrors and stuff and, you know, forge blood items and things like that. So there's some benefit to this too. We can also do like Heliophaguses and stuff. Potentially, this would be like very late game. So it opens up some late game stuff to us. The other thing that it does is when we get Bows of War, we're almost certainly going to be killing things. And as soon as we kill things, we're going to get Blood Surge active. And that +3 strength is going to translate to 1 additional Bow of War damage. And as we're stacking strength, it is going to add up and matter, is basically the short of it. So we'll end up with even more powerful Bows of War. So it does have some mid-game payoff. It's also going to make our wardens function as better raiders. But we're going to have fewer wardens, and we're going to have a bit less income. So like if we compare the total income loss from this, we would have been like here. So we're going to lose 5% income, and we're going to have significantly fewer wardens. I'm kind of on the fence for this one, guys. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm not really sure the completely correct way to do this. I think they're both viable. I think the more I talk about it, the more I feel like this is probably the safer bet. Because I think I've play tested a bunch of different. I don't really like heavy cav expansion with these guys. I think they died too much to crossbows, and the kind of numbers we're going to be getting them early. I like the defender expansion, but I think the wardens are going to be more reliable if I run into player armies. And I like having a lot of wardens for my first war. Because the things that I'm going to be scared at, the things that I'm scared of, the things I might not do great against, the wardens are going to do really well against. So this allows me, I think, to have maybe not more wardens in the mid game, but more in the early game when the rush might happen. Because I'm going to be making only wardens because they're going to be doing better in expansion. I'm kind of leaning towards this build. Should I tweak any of the scales any? I think this is probably the right ratio. This also opens up some options, like if we find a productivity throne or something, we can claim it and get benefit from it. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty solid about this. I would like higher Dominion, but honestly, we'll probably get up to 10 candles just by building 8 forts if we have a decent showing in the game. You know, if we get curb stomped or something early, obviously that's not going to happen. But I think this is the build we're going to go for. Let's go ahead and put a password on it. And let's name it. I want people to think I took the Thrice-Horned Boar, because you probably don't want to rush somebody with a boar. So I think we're going to call him Pork Pie. And I have to log in. But anyway, I'm going to log in, resubmit my pretender, and then we're going to start the game, because everybody else has submitted their pretender. I haven't submitted mine. I wasn't the last, but I'm going to change it. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. It was a pretty quick pretender design, but I will see you in the game. Peace.